May 1st, 1994. Imola, Italy, the San Marino Grand Prix. Lap 7. A blue and white Williams car soars down the straight, but something feels wrong, off, as it approaches the infamous Tamburello corner. In a fraction of a second, the car veers off the track. No skid, no spin, just silence and impact. It wasn't just any crash, it was the crash. And behind the wheel was Ayrton Senna. The world's greatest driver wasn't supposed to die that day, but he did. And in that moment, Formula One lost not just a champion, but its soul. Born to break limits. From the very beginning, Ayrton Senna wasn't like the others. Born in Sao Paulo, Brazil in 1960, he didn't just race, he felt the machine. Karting at 4, competitive at 7, championed by adolescence. There was no plan B, only tracks, engines, and an obsession with perfection. By 1984, Senna entered Formula One. Not with the best team, not with the fastest car, but with something no one else had, an unshakable will to win no matter what. Welcome to the Lion's Den. Formula One in the 1980s wasn't a sport, it was a battlefield. The grid was filled with legends. Alain Prost, the professor, master of precision. Nelson Piquet, cunning, ruthless, and already a champion. Nigel Mansell, fearless and wild with nothing to lose. Niki Lauda, Keke Rosberg, and a young Michael Schumacher waiting in the shadows. Yet even among these giants, Senna stood out. Why? Because he wasn't just competing, he was dominating and doing it in style. Monaco, 1984. Rain lashed the streets, cars aquaplaned, champions struggled. Senna, in an uncompetitive Toleman, chased down Alain Prost like a predator in the wet. Lap after lap, he gained time. It was surgical, relentless. When the race was red-flagged, he was just seconds from taking the lead. The world took notice. That wasn't just a rookie making waves. That was the arrival of a future icon. When perfection wore a helmet, Monaco, 1988. A track so narrow and unforgiving, a single mistake ends a race. Ayrton Senna was up against his own teammate, Alain Prost, a future 4-time world champion, same car, same machinery. But on that day, Senna didn't just beat Prost, he annihilated him. During qualifying, Senna recorded a lap time 1.4 seconds faster than Prost. Same tires, same conditions, same car, but an entirely different universe. Even his own engineers didn't believe the telemetry. Senna later described the lap like he was outside of his body, watching himself drive. He wasn't just racing, he was transcending. That day, the world saw what Formula One looked like, in the hands of a man who no longer obeyed its limits. The Rain Dancer, April 11th, 1993. Donington Park. Heavy rain turned the circuit into a death trap. Visibility, zero. Grip, non-existent. But when the lights went out, something unbelievable happened. Senna started 5th. By the end of the first lap, he was leading. 4 overtakes in the wet, on a soaked track, against world champions. No one else even came close. He didn't drive around the rain. He drove through it, like it wasn't there. That first lap is still called the greatest opening lap in Formula One history, not because of the number of overtakes, but because it felt like Senna wasn't racing others. He was racing physics itself, and winning. The King and the Assassin. There's no Senna story without Prost. No fire without ice, no chaos without control. They were opposites, rivals, 2 gods in a sport that could barely contain one. Their battles were brutal, especially in Japan. In 1989, Prost turned in. Senna collided, disqualified, title gone. But the next year, Senna got the rematch, Japanese Grand Prix. The title again came down to one moment. If Prost didn't finish, Senna would be champion. So when the lights went out, Senna didn't lift. He didn't flinch. He didn't turn. He drove straight into Prost at 160 miles per hour. Both cars flew off the track. Prost was out. Senna was world champion, cold, calculated, It wasn't just racing, it was war. Critics called it dirty. Fans called it iconic. But for Senna, it was necessary. A move born not from hatred, but from the belief that justice isn't always polite. The mind of a machine, the heart of a human. There was something different about Senna, something even his rivals admitted. It wasn't just his speed, it was his mind. Senna was obsessed with detail. He would study telemetry for hours, rewatch footage until it broke down into frames. He didn't just memorize tracks, he memorized tire wear, gear timing, wind shifts, even the sound of the engine at full throttle on a damp straight. Race engineer Pat Simons once recalled Senna crashing at a specific corner. When questioned, Senna swore the concrete wall had moved. They checked. It had shifted by a few millimeters. That's how precise he was. But beneath the surgical focus was faith. Senna was deeply spiritual. He spoke openly about God, prayer, and purpose. To him, racing wasn't just a sport, it was a test of belief. By being a racing driver, you are under risk all the time. And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you are no longer a racing driver. Every lap was a prayer, every pass a question to fate. And yet, he never asked for safety, only the strength to keep going. When the legend stood still, May 1st, 1994. Lap 7, Tamburello. Senna's car, the Williams FW16, left the track at over 300 kilometers per hour. The impact was silent. The world froze. A suspension rod pierced his helmet. The angle, perfect. The odds, impossible. Senna was pronounced dead. A nation fell into mourning. Brazil declared 3 days of silence. Over 3 million people lined the streets of São Paulo to say goodbye. But even in death, Senna saved lives. In his car, folded beneath the seat, was an Austrian flag. He had planned to raise it in tribute to Roland Ratzenberger, who had died the day before. He never got the chance. But that moment changed everything. F1 rewrote its safety rules. Circuits were redesigned, cars were re-engineered, barriers strengthened, medical protocols overhauled. No Formula One driver would die during a race again. For 20 years. His death became the wall that stopped 1,000 others. Off the track, Senna's legacy lived even louder. Quietly, without press or fame, he had donated nearly $400 million to charities in Brazil. Feeding children, building schools, offering hope, all of it done in silence. Because true greatness doesn't need applause, it just needs purpose. There is only one Senna. Ayrton Senna wasn't just a driver, he was a contradiction. Ruthless, yet compassionate. Spiritual, yet unforgiving. A hero, a warrior, and a mirror held up to everything beautiful and brutal about Formula One. Others may chase his records, some may even beat his stats, but none will carry what he carried, because Senna wasn't born to race. He was born to remind the world what racing could be. And though his car stopped on lap 7, his echo still circles every track. Final call to action. If this story moved you, it's because Senna still moves the world. Share your favorite Senna moment below. We read everyone. Subscribe and stay with us. More legends are coming. And always remember, there will never be another Ayrton Senna.